Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that I know causes a ton of stress for a lot of us, and that's trying to save money when your paycheck, well, barely even covers your everyday life. If you're on a low salary right now, you've probably noticed that standard financial advice feels, honestly, completely out of touch, maybe even a little insulting, right? You know, the experts who tell you to just invest, or cut out your daily lattes, or just budget better. It's as if you're only struggling because you didn't download the right spreadsheet. No way. Today, we're taking a totally different approach. We are looking at grounded, realistic strategies designed specifically for tight budgets. These come directly from experts who truly understand that when your income is low, saving isn't a luxury, it's literal survival. Okay, let's dive into this with a quote that sets the entire foundation for our time together. Saving isn't about being good with money. Saving is about building a system that survives real life. Listen, this explainer is definitely not going to be a lecture on skipping your morning coffee or pretending you can just cut your life down to air and water. Real life includes rent. It includes family responsibilities, bills, and the sheer fact that you're a human being, not a robot. So we're going to build a survival blueprint that actually respects your reality. So here is our clear, step-by-step roadmap to help take your finances from chaos to total control. We'll hit 1. The low salary reality. 2. Shifting your saving mindset. 3. Stopping the silent leaks. 4. Building the automatic system. 5. The anchor meal strategy. And finally, 6. Leveling up your income. Let's get right to it.
Number 1, the low salary reality. We need to talk about why most standard money advice just feels like a slap in the face to anyone living paycheck to paycheck. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive disconnect here. Over on the left, traditional advice just magically assumes you have surplus cash laying around to invest. But looking at the right side, the low-income reality is completely different. It requires protecting what you absolutely need, stopping the leaks, and building rigid systems. Because when you're on a low income, the true enemy isn't actually the low income itself. The real enemy is having no margin. What does that mean? Well, when you have absolutely zero financial buffer, every single surprise, a flat tire, a sick kid, some sudden random fee, it immediately becomes a total disaster. And what happens when a small problem causes panic? Well, panic absolutely destroys your savings. It forces you into emotional spending just to cope with the stress, or even worse, you have to borrow money urgently at terrible interest rates. So our entire goal right now is to stop the bleeding and create a tiny buffer so we can eliminate that panic. Moving to step 2, shift your saving mindset. We need to completely remove the shame of small numbers and help you adopt the identity of a true saver. Look, when you're scraping by, it is so easy to feel ashamed that you can't put away hundreds of dollars a month. But here's the secret. You have to start with what feels possible, not what sounds perfect. Honestly, forget the idea that you need a $5,000 emergency fund right this second. Trying to hit a massive goal like that right out of the gate is just going to make you want to quit. Your starter goal should be tiny. Even an extra $100 in the bank can literally be a lifesaver when you need a last-minute prescription or a quick oil change. Those small wins, they build the momentum you desperately need. Now, here's an incredibly effective psychological trick for you. Give your savings account a name. Don't just leave it as savings account number 2. Name it something fun and empowering. Call it your peace fund, or the freedom fund, or maybe your future self fund. I know it might sound a little silly at first, but when things are tight, having a destination with a meaningful name keeps you super motivated to deposit even the smallest amounts of spare change. You're literally funding your own peace of mind.
All right, step 3, stopping the silent leaks. Because on a low income, your money doesn't usually disappear in huge chunks, does it? It vanishes through small, repeated costs that feel completely normal. So now that our mindset is locked in, we've got to hunt down those hidden costs. First up, convenience leaks. Think taking a last-minute taxi or ordering food delivery just because you're totally exhausted after a long shift. Second, subscription leaks. Oh yeah, that streaming app you've been paying for since 2019 and haven't watched once? That's a leak. And third, impulse leaks. You know, grabbing a quick snack or doing some cheap online shopping just to get a tiny hit of dopamine when you're stressed. Now, individually, these don't seem dangerous at all, but combined, they can secretly cost you as much as a second rent payment every single month. No joke. To plug these leaks, you've got to implement one mandatory rule: the 48-hour delay. For literally any non-essential purchase, force yourself to wait 48 hours. This isn't about depriving yourself forever, it's strictly about breaking that autopilot spending habit. It acts like a circuit breaker between you feeling stressed and you spending money to fix that stress.
Step 4. Building the automatic system. This is the architecture of saving, because keeping your savings in your main spending account is basically like trying to carry water in your bare hands. Once you've stopped the bleeding, it's time to build that architecture. The moment life gets even slightly difficult, money in your main account just slips right through your fingers. So you need this brilliant, simple separation into 3 zones. Zone 1 is your bill zone. This is for fixed things like rent and debt minimums. Zone 2 is your spending zone for food and daily life stuff. But Zone 3? That's your saving zone. And this is absolutely critical. It must not be connected to your debit card. It has to be genuinely inconvenient to access. Because when your savings are sitting right there next to your daily spending money, your brain just treats it like available cash.
Let's move to and see how this builds. By setting up that inconvenient saving zone, you can build an unstoppable habit by automating tiny transfers into it. We're talking like sparing $5 a week or using one of those apps that just rounds up your spare change. Actually, our source material shares this amazing story about 2 friends who just started putting aside tiny amounts of cash, stuff they would have blown on random coffees or a pack of gum. Over several months, they were completely shocked to find they had saved over $3,000 combined. It's wild. The whole point is consistency. You're not really going to miss $5 a week, but your future self is going to be incredibly grateful it's there.
Next up, Step 5, the anchor meal strategy. Food is a daily battleground for our budget, so we need a system that doesn't require you to be a perfect chef. Eating just happens every single day, multiple times a day. Enter the anchor meal strategy. An anchor meal is just a simple, cheap, and really fast meal that you can repeat easily without even thinking about it. If you can lock just 60% of your weekly diet into these anchor meals, your budget will dramatically stabilize, and you won't make your life miserable in the process. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how accessible and cheap these combinations actually are. Look at this. A base of rice, some protein from eggs, and a handful of frozen veggies. Or maybe pasta, lentils, and canned tomatoes. Potatoes, chicken, and a simple salad. These are super inexpensive, highly nutritious, and really fast to make. You don't have to eat them for every single meal, but using them as your reliable anchors removes that daily fatigue of deciding what's for dinner. And honestly, that decision fatigue is usually exactly what leads to that expensive takeout order, right? Finally, Step 6, leveling up your income. Because eventually, you can only cut your expenses so far before you really need to focus on building a second lane for income. So we've reached the final phase. Up to this point, we've been playing defense, but now it's time to play a little offense. Now, I am not talking about starting a massive corporation here. I'm talking about very achievable micro side hustles that take maybe 1 to 2 hours a week. Clear out your closets and sell some unused items on local marketplaces. Do some simple admin or design work on freelance sites. Take up a few delivery gigs, or maybe offer tutoring or childcare in your neighborhood. Pick one skill you already have and just offer it. And remember the golden rule. Every single dollar from this second lane goes straight into your savings zone. The target here is so important to understand. The goal is not to immediately replace your full-time job. The target is just to earn an extra $200 a month. Why? Because an extra $200 completely changes the math when you're on a low salary. It provides massive breathing room. It becomes your emergency fund, it's your debt reduction tool, and eventually it's your ticket to basic investing. To keep this whole shebang running smoothly, you need a simple maintenance schedule. So, enter the 10-minute Sunday routine. Once a week, just sit down for 10 minutes. Check your balances so you aren't totally surprised by upcoming bills. Pick just one leak category, like impulse spending, to keep a really close eye on for the week. And set one micro goal, maybe like saving an extra $20 or cooking 3 anchor meals. This creates constant proof of control. It proves to you that you are not stuck. You're actually moving forward. So the crucial point is this: practice gratitude, not guilt. When you are on a low income, it is so ridiculously easy to shame yourself for what you can't do or for financial mistakes you might have made in the past. But listen to me, shame does not build bank accounts. If you only managed to save $5 this week, celebrate it. Be incredibly grateful for it. You are prioritizing your future self step by tiny step, and that is a huge win. I want to leave you with this final, really powerful psychological tool to carry with you every single day. Before you buy anything non-essential, ask yourself this: does this purchase reduce pressure in my life, or does it increase pressure? Think about it. A cash buffer reduces pressure. An impulse buy, sure, it might feel pretty good in the moment, but if it drains your account, it's just expensive happiness that increases your stress tomorrow. You are building a system to protect your peace. So, take a look at your bank statement tonight and ask yourself, What is one pressure-increasing habit you can eliminate right now to buy back your future freedom?